Hello, everyone. On today's podcast episode, I'm going to talk about, a Bible verse that I read, earlier. I can't remember the exact, verse where I found it, but it's in Proverbs. The Bible verse states that, there's a path that looks so right, that you take it without realizing that that right path leads you to death, right? That's the Bible verse. It goes in line with the verse, with the words of Jesus Christ that states that, when Jesus Christ states that, the road to hell is filled with many, and the road to heaven has is small and narrow, and has very few people in it, right? The road to hell is filled with many tells you that, implies that it's easier to go to hell than it is to go to heaven. Many people go to hell because it's easier to go there, right? And the verse that I quoted earlier states the same thing, The road to death looks like the perfect place to go. The road towards hell looks perfect from afar. It looks like the right choice. But yet it's the road to death, It reminds me of a phenomenon that scientists have talked about in the past, where the most dangerous creatures look beautiful and perfect. The more beautiful a creature is, an animal is, the more you need to be careful of it. Because, the more likelihood it's poisonous. The more likelihood it's dangerous, Like the tree frogs. Tree frogs, I think it's like Amazonian tree frogs. They look so beautiful and colorful. It makes you want to touch them. Yet these colorful, I think it's the dart frogs. The dart frogs, Amazonian dart frogs. I think it's from Amazon, is an Amazon frog. But these frogs come in so many different colors. If you see them, you think they're so beautiful. Let me touch them, right? The road to hell looks so easy. The road to hell looks so enticing. Yet it's the road to hell. The road to hell, for you to actually want to go there, right? It has to look beautiful. It has to look beautiful to lure you in. Evil must look perfect from the outside in order to lure you in. If it looked horrible from your point of view, you would never go there. Right? If something looked horrible and messed up, you would never want to go there, would you? No. So in order for you to be attracted towards hell, it has to look good. It has to look perfect. It has to look like the right choice to make. There's so many people who chase after money because it looks like the right choice to make. They chase after money and ignore their friends and family members. They chase after money and ignore, the social detriments of chasing after money over friends, over family, over society, over the laws of your country. So they do scams, they trick others, they manipulate others. They do the most dastardly deeds for money without the slightest care in the world that if you chase after money mindlessly, you're only going to harm yourself. Your life will be filled with misery. If you make money being a good person, it's a whole different thing than making money being a bad person. But most people are so greedy for money, they don't even care about being a good person anymore. They only care about making money. Money is all that matters. Money over everything. That's the mindset of society, is money over everything. And then when they get money, now they're buying drugs, now they're buying illegal drugs because all they have is depression. They're no longer happy in life. They have all the money now, but all they have now is depression, worry, anxiety, stress, and all the negative things in life, and none of the positive things. You chase after money, you think you're going towards happiness. You're not going towards happiness. Money and happiness are not the same thing. You'll be punished for being a greedy person in this world. God punishes greedy people. God punishes people who chase after money over their own lives. If you think money matters more than your life, guess what? If you don't value your life, you'll lose it. If you don't value something, you'll lose it. If you think money is more important than your life, guess what? If you don't have a life, what's the point of money? How can you spend money without your life? You're putting the cart before the horse there. You know, you're chasing after something that's not as valuable as you think it is. If you spend your entire life chasing money, and they at the age of 80, you have $100,000 in your bank account, or you have a good 401k or retirement fund, and then you die right after you retire, you die before you spend the money. What's the point? You spent your entire life chasing money, and now that you have money, you die before you even got to spend it, you died. There's a phenomenon, you know, with old people is that after they quit working, right, they die within a few years of working, they end up dying. These are the people who work their entire lives chasing a perfect retirement, and then every time, the moment they quit, they just die within a few years before they even get to spend the money they've been working their entire lives for. They die before they get to spend it. Doesn't that how isn't that very wrongful? You spent your entire life chasing money. Before you can even get to spend the money, you died. You get punished for being a greedy person in this world. You may not think there's a God, but I'm telling you, God does not reward greedy people. God does not reward people who value money more than their lives. God does not reward people who value money more than the human race. God does not reward people who value money more than the world. Money has its place in life, yes. Money has value, yes. But money is not more valuable than your life. Would never be more valuable than your life. The road to hell looks enticing. That's why many people go towards that path. Many people chase after money because, the road to hell looks very, very enticing. But it's hell. Once you start going down the road towards hell, you start to suffer for it. And at the end of the day, you end up realizing you gain no benefit for all the hard work you spent your life working hard, chasing after money, only to gain no benefits from it. You're not happy. You're not content. You feel no joy. You feel no satisfaction. All you have is money and regret. Then you end up, overdosing on drugs. You spent your life, wasting all the money, you spent all your life chasing after money, and then you spend that money trying to, cure yourself of all the depression and stress in life that came with you chasing after money. Now you're wasting your money, paying therapists, paying, illegal drug salesmen money. You're wasting all that money, all the money you made, you're wasting it, on drugs, trying to cure yourself, trying to cure all the problems you created for yourself. You created the problems, and now you're wasting, you created the problems in your life chasing after money. Now you're trying to use money to solve it. It's just like an endless loop where your life just becomes worse and worse and worse and worse. Your life matters more than money. Money has its place, you know. Money has its place in this world, but it doesn't mean your life is less valuable than money. Your happiness is not less valuable than money. Your health is not less valuable than money. And it's okay to work for money. It's okay to, I'm not saying you become a broke bum. I'm just saying, everything in this world works off moderation. You know, if you get too cold, you'll die. If you get too hot, you'll die. If you run too much, you'll die. If you stay still for too long, you'll also die. You know, life works off moderation. You know, it's okay to have money in life. It's okay to work for money, but you have to know that your life matters more than money. Your happiness matters more than money. When you start to become more depressed, when you end up in a cushy job, but your boss treats you badly, your coworkers treat you badly, everyone treats you badly, and you feel suicidal and depressed, you know, at that job, that's a sign for you to quit. That's a sign for you to look for someone else. Look for a different job that fits you better. Do not stay at a job where you get treated, like trash just because you make money. Because you will not live long in a depressed state. Depressed people do not live that long. People who suffer from anxiety, stress, and all these disorders do not live long. If you don't have your life, what's the point of money? How can you spend money without life? You're putting the cart before the horse there. Everything works off moderation. Make money, but do not put that, do not kill yourself for money. You can be punished. You'll be punished, for sinning. If you don't value your life, God spends so much time and energy creating you, creating that life that you have. If you think money is worth more than the life that God gave you, that's a sin in and of itself. Greed is a sin in and of itself. Greed for money is a sin. And this reminds me of what I wanted to talk about on this podcast episode. And that what I want to talk about is there are many people who want to live forever. And this is why I said the road to hell looks very enticing, right? Hey, who doesn't want to live forever, right? But I'm just gonna give you a word of caution. Moderation is key in this world. There's a reason why you don't live. The average age of humans are less than 100 years old. We live to less than 100 years old. Yes, we have the freedom to live longer, right? I don't think there's a problem with us living like 1,000, 2,000, or even 5,000 years, right? If science can make us live that long, fine. But living for eternity, that's a major issue. Do you know why? There's a reason why, God created us to only live for 100 years old. There's a reason why we're only living 100 years right now. Do you know why it's a major problem? Eternity is a major problem because the law of probability states that if there's a chance, right, for something to occur, given an infinite number of repetitions, it will occur, right? It means if you live for eternity, if there's a good enough chance that you'll be tortured, you could be killed by a thunder strike, right? You'll be killed by a thunder strike. You'll be hit by thunder. You'll be hit by lightning, right? If there's a chance for you to be abducted, raped, bullied, and tortured alive for years, that will happen to you. If there's a chance for you to be thrown into outer space and and suffer extreme suffocation for years on end in the vacuum of space, that chance will happen. The longer you live, the higher the chance of something bad happening to you. I think I read I think there was a few years ago, like a decade or so ago, where I read a statistic that showed that the likelihood of you dying the longer you live increases to the point where it's like almost definite for you to die. As in, your chances of dying is like 100%. The longer you live, the higher the chances of something bad happening to you. So for those people who want to live forever, just know that there are consequences for living a longer life. Right now the world may look, fine, but 100 years from now, a massive, empire took over the whole earth, right? And enslave humanity. If you're still alive then, you'll be enslaved as well. And then you could be tortured alive for hundreds, if not thousands of years. If that empire, lasts that long, like the Egyptian, like the Egyptian, like Egypt, like ancient Egypt. I heard ancient Egypt, like the whole empire of ancient Egypt, lasted for thousands of years. If you want to, if you're someone who wants to live a long life, right? What if a new empire takes over the world, right? And they enslave you and then torture you for 1,000 years plus. Since you live that long, you just end up getting, 1 year of torture after another. Constant torture. People live and die, yet here you are still being tortured alive for thousands of years until the empire falls apart. And then a new empire comes up. And they may even treat you even worse than the last one. You have no control over the future. If you're someone who wants to be immortal, you have to know that there are consequences to living a long life. The longer you live, the higher the chance of bad things happening to you, especially if you're a sinner. If you're righteous, a good, if you're a holy man, a man of God, obviously God will help you, will protect you from that. But if you're a sinner, someone who only knows how to do bad things, guess what? Sooner or later, you end up being exactly where you don't want to be. You may be stuck there for years, decades. You may be even wrongfully, imprisoned. Someone could falsely accuse you of a crime you didn't commit in the future. And then you have to serve multiple life sentences in prison. Multiple. The United States loves giving people multiple life sentences, right? Guess what? If you're someone who lives a very long life, you have to serve all those life sentences. All of them. That sucks, doesn't it? The road to hell always looks enticing, right? When you get to live forever. You don't know the consequences of living forever. And there are consequences of living forever. You can end up getting tortured alive for the rest of, for eternity. You can end up getting kicked into the vacuum of space, right? And just aimlessly, just get aimlessly dragged around in the vacuum of space until you end up getting sucked into some sort of planet that has no atmosphere, and you just get tortured alive for eternity. Space still exists. Some random evil villain could just come and take you and throw you into space just because, hey, you're living for a long time and they don't like it. They don't know how to kill you because you're eternal, right? You're immortal. Because you're immortal, they don't know how to kill you. So guess what? They just throw you into the vacuum of space, let you suffocate, for eternity there. They take you, in a rocket. They tie you to a rocket and just send you off into space. Now you're stuck in space for eternity. In extreme pain because you can't breathe. Your lungs can't breathe. And it's just endless torture and endless torture until you just become numb. You have no control over the spacecraft because you're tied to the outside of it. You're tied to the outside of it. And you're just there floating in outer space for eternity. Even when your body gets accustomed to space is, some places are very, very cold. If I remember, space is very, very cold to begin with. There's radiation. There's so many things, in space. Oh, the torment of living forever. You don't know the outcome of what's going to happen in the future. The whole Earth could get blown up. We could migrate to Mars and other planets, and the whole Earth could get blown up. Or you can get thrown into the sun. You can get tossed into the sun instead of being tossed into the vacuum of space. Some evildoer could just grab you, put you into a spacesuit, or strap you to a spacecraft, right? They may never put you in a spacesuit. Just strap you into the spacecraft, and send that spacecraft hurling straight into the sun. Let's see how long you live in the sun. You become that science experiment. You don't want to live forever. You don't know what's going to happen to you. And if there's a chance of this, something bad happening to you, the longer you live, the higher the chance of that thing happening. So many people who dream about living forever always only sees the good, always see only the good things about living forever. They never see the downsides of it. The downside is you have no control over the future. You have no control over other people's choices. And other people's choices influence your future. The choices of others influence your future. And you can't control what other people are doing. So the longer you live, the higher the chance that your life will just get thrown haywire. All the plans you made just crumbles to dirt. And now all you do is suffer and suffer and suffer and suffer. And you don't have a way to kill yourself. You don't have a way to die. You can spend years, decades, even thousands of years, centuries, millenniums, suffering. And that's the path you chose, the path of endless suffering. And there's a likelihood, the longer you live, the longer you experience that endless suffering, especially as a sinner. If you're someone who sins a lot, just know that the future won't be a perfect world. Sinners do not experience a perfect world in this, on earth, in this world. The more you sin, the worse your life becomes. So if you're someone who sins a lot, just know that you don't want to live forever. You'll be tortured alive for a very, very long time. For a very, very, very long time. The road to hell always looks enticing. Always looks perfect. But there's a reason why it's called hell. There's a reason why it's hell. The road to heaven looks, mundane and boring. But there's a reason why it's heaven. Living for 100 years may not seem, may seem like, oh no, it sucks. It sucks, I only get to live for 100 years or so, or 60 years or so. But the benefits of it is that you get to live a nice, healthy life, and you die a peaceful death. You don't die a torturous death. You die of old age. Relax, at ease, at your own comfort. That's the benefit of living, for a few hundred years. The downside of it is if you're a sinner, you will never value, 100 years. You think 100 years is too short. Greedy people never value what they have. 100 years is a long time. 60 years is a long time to live. But if you're a greedy person, you will never value what you have. The grass will always be greener on the other side. Hell will always look more beautiful than heaven. For greedy people, hell always looks more beautiful than heaven. So they chase after hell and end up, regretting every single thing every single choice they've ever made in life. They end up regretting every single bad choice they ever made. There's a reason why it's called hell. No matter how beautiful it looks, no matter how enticing it looks, it is still hell. If you're someone who wants to live forever, be careful because, there's a road that looks, there's a choice that looks so right, but that choice leads to death. And that's a verse in the Bible. There's a choice that looks so right, but it leads only to death. Living forever feels so great, right? When you think about it, you only think about the benefits of it. You never think about the downsides of it. Probability is going against you when it comes to living forever. All the bad things that can occur in life to you have 100% chance of occurring if you live forever. Meaning you go through one nightmare after another, one drama after another, one torture after another. That's the life of someone who wants to live forever. You know, there's no benefits in going to hell. None. There's a reason why, humans only live for so many years before we die. It's not a coincidence. It is not a coincidence. So if you're someone who does not value your life, more life will not make your life more valuable. Living longer years will not make your life, more happier. You may be doing the opposite of what you want. You should value the life that God has already given you. If you don't value what you have, you will never be happy in life. Whether you have 1,000,000,000 years to live or 1,000,000,000,000 years to live. If you don't value the time you have in life, you will never be happy. If you don't value what you have right now, you will never be happy in life. This is why greed is a sin. You'll be punished for your greed. Greed for more life, greed for more money, greed for anything. You get punished for it. Be happy with what you have, Be content with how life is for you. You don't need 1,000,000 years to be happy. You just need to be happy. That's all. And you can be happy with what you have right now. You can be happy with the amount of money you have right now, with the friends that you have right now, with the family that you have right now, with the job that you have right now, in the place that you are right now. You can be happy with whatever situation you're in right now. It's a choice. Contentment is a choice. If you choose to be a greedy person, guess what? You pay the consequences of your greed. You go to hell. You go towards hell, where misery and torment awaits you. That's it for today's podcast episode. I pray for everyone's good health and understanding. Amen.